Hello everyone, this is the Rabbit, and I am going to be showing you the Peninsula of Power trick in the original Final Fantasy here. I have attempted to record this video 3 times now, and each time something has gone wrong, so I'm gonna stick it this time. As well as showing you this trick, I am gonna answer a question that was asked of me by one of my viewers over on my brother's channel. I think PyroHamster1 is his username, and they asked me, let's see, it was a username Coloroutofspace asked me what I thought of the Final Fantasies as archetypes of modern RPGs, and if I would contrast that with postmodern RPGs. So I'm going to do my best to answer that question, so get started. To do this trick, you're going to want to do it probably around level 12. I wouldn't recommend much earlier than that because these are fairly high level monsters we're going to be fighting out here. So I would probably be around level 12 before you decide to undertake it. And what the Peninsula of Power is exactly, something about the way the developers mapped the monster spawn areas in this game. There's a 4x4 square at the very top of a peninsula just after the town Provoca in Final Fantasy. Obviously Final Fantasy. Just after the town Provoca. Where the monsters that you find there are actually monsters from about halfway through the game. And from them you can get a lot of experience, a lot of gold, and some pretty decent items. But yeah, anyway, I would not recommend doing it before around 12th level, just because of the nature of the monsters. As you're also going to want to have your inventory fairly well stocked. You're going to want potions, quite a few potions, ethers for your mages, sleeping bags if you bring them over from Cornelia, stuff to keep you alive, because the longer you can stay out here, the better for you. You don't have to do a lot of trips back and forth to sleep, get items and stuff. And longer time out here means more experience and more gold, and you can get quite wealthy. I like to play with a fighter, a monk, a white mage, and a black mage. Okay. Here we are. Stopped recording there for a second. Not sure what happened. But we left off. We had reached the Peninsula of Power. And we are getting into our first fight here. What was I saying? I think I was talking about my party loadout. I like a fighter, a monk, a white mage, and a black mage. The fighter, the white mage, and the black mage for fairly obvious reasons. Fighter's good at fighting, white mage heals, black mage gives him the nuke-tastic weaponry. Some people like to use monks. Let me see if I can adjust the sound here. Some people like to use thieves instead of monks, but I prefer monks. Even though they take quite a bit of damage, they deal out quite a bit of damage as well. So that is why I like to use them. So these winter wolves, if you fight them enough, are going to give you ice shield, I think it's called, for your fighter. Is a really good weapon to have this early in the game. All of these monsters up here give you a lot of money, especially for this point in the game. It makes the magic, which is normally quite expensive around this time, actually affordable. You also get a lot of levels, obviously, I just did. But anyway, that is the Peninsula of Power. It's good to know, good to exploit, and I hope helps you guys out. Now, to answer the question that was asked to me by Coloroutofspace on, I believe it was episode 2 of my Minecraft Let's Play with my brother. I had mentioned that I wanted to do stuff with RPGs on my own channel, and he asked me, I'm guessing as a response to that, what I thought of the Final Fantasies as archetypes of modern RPGs, and if I would contrast that against postmodern RPGs like Fallout 3, The Elder Scrolls, The Witcher, stuff like that. My answer to that would be, I do think that the Final Fantasies have acted as archetypes for almost every RPG that is out today. Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second, because I would like to take this from the beginning, and where I think RPGs began was mythology, Greek mythology, Norse mythology, all of that kind of stuff, because that is where that kind of stuff, like mythology, is where Tolkien got most of his inspiration, I think, for the Lord of the Rings books, and those acted largely as the inspiration for the Dungeons and Dragons role-playing game. D&D really introduced, I think, the idea of the role-playing game in the way we would recognize it today. It's got the levels, it's got the abilities that you get as you progress, it's got the items, it's really what we would think of if someone asked us what an RPG is, and I think that's where this type of game really started to take shape. From D&D, I think that's where the video game bridge was made, and that bridge, I think, is Final Fantasy. It brought RPGs into the video game world. If you play this game, you'll notice things like the trolls in this game regenerate health, which is a Dungeons and Dragons characteristic of trolls, as far as I know. I don't know if it's a part of the mythology or not, but stuff like trolls, stuff like goblins, in the form that you would see them in D&D, which isn't necessarily the same form that you would see in mythology, and so that is really what leads me to believe that Final Fantasy took a lot of its inspiration from D&D, as well as the obvious similarities in the system of leveling, of fighting, of turn-based battles, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and at points in this game, you'll even see things that are entirely D&D, like the Mind Flayer. There are Mind Flayers in Final Fantasy, and that's an entirely Dungeons and Dragons based monster, I think. If I'm wrong, correct me. I don't think there's a Mind Flayer anywhere in the mythology of any people, but I could be wrong. And Final Fantasy took what Dungeons and Dragons was on the table and really made it applicable in the video game world, I think. That's where you get the turn-based battle system, the level system, the stats, all that kind of stuff you see in RPGs. I think was originally shaped to the form it's in today by Final Fantasy and the Final Fantasy games. And so when you look at things like Elder Scrolls, I'm losing my mind. Elder Scrolls, Fallout 3, Deus Ex, all of these kinds of postmodern sort of first-person RPG kind of games. The turn-based battle system may not be as pronounced in those, but if you really get down to it, I think if you shaved off all the layers off, the top of a modern RPG, I think at the bottom you would find Final Fantasy. You would find that system that Final Fantasy pioneered. And I think in a real way, these games have given us all of the modern RPGs that we see today. I think it was the bridge that brought the RPG system from the tabletop to the video game world, and in that way I think that I wouldn't say that these weren't archetypes for postmodern RPGs as well as modern RPGs. I think every RPG game that we have today in one way or another owes itself back to the Final Fantasies. And so I hope that answers your question. I got a little long-winded there, but I'm not an expert in video game history, but that is, if I had to venture a guess, that's how I would say it went down. It seems that way to me. That seems to be what the evidence points to. So I hope that answered your question. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to be starting a Deus Ex playthrough later this week on my channel, this weekend sometime probably. So if you enjoy my video, stop back in, check those out. It should be fun. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.